Welcome to Frequently Speaking. This is your host, Maxwellness. Now, here on this podcast, we're going to start to break down words that we speak outwardly and how their vibrations create what we frequently see. Now, in today's episode, we're going to delve into MissUnderstanding Trauma. What's going on, guys? How are you doing? Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Frequently Speaking. So today, we are going to be talking about the misunderstanding of trauma. And this is more so delving into different aspects, different approaches to the ways that we think that we have been understanding, the ways that we process, hold, store, and have the capacity for trauma, and the ways that we can bring in that miss and that ama, which is love, into this space. And in this episode, we're going to be delving into a few key topics such as single parent homes, the willingness and the tolerance within healthy relationship dynamics, hypermasculinity, and also gender identification. So yeah, let's dive into this a little bit deeper, and please leave your traumas at the door. What are some things you're willing to tolerate in cultivating a healthy relationship? Well, we can pick out the things that we do not want for ourselves in a relationship based on the negatively positioned standpoint rather than a positively driven focus. If we're unable to become aware or acknowledge our own healing aspect and how we are mentally, emotionally, and socially conditioned to be, then how will someone we are trying to attract be that for us? You can only see someone as deep as you see yourself. Let's look at a couple examples. Single parent homes only contain one perspective of growth that's acted towards the nurturing of the intended existence, basically the child. When understanding parental traumas, we must look into forgiveness. But forgiveness of what specifically? We attain forgiveness of our parents for the healing they did not possess in their perceived time before extending that life source to another being, to us. So, in essence, we are forgiving our past selves in our echoed future of perception in insight of the growth that we intended. Not addressing the healing in this state of time as the being will only transgress from the past self into progression of self. We cannot mend the emotional dissonance within self if we do not turn inwardly and continuously work on our past self. Eventualities from an external world will hinder our conceptualization of seeing our true future potential. Dual family homes represent a mixture of both dynamics, with correlation to dual existential cultivation of an easier, sustainable, single, ethereal life force of self. Let's look at rejected views of gender anchoring due to stigmas. Whether you're male or female and experiencing this one-sided growth process of your experienced life, there's a portion that has been absent and influenced by external images, either positively or negatively, that when reflected upon, you have not resonated with your true core and become rejected. This also shows up in how we view our own gender identification externally, being that the internal anchoring of these personas are non-existent or untethered. The external image that is portrayed and unresonating with us becomes over time existential stigmas of our personal identity that becomes our understanding of just who we are. Let's look at non-identification of connective process in a systemic rhythm. Basically, not identifying to how you address yourself in society. The rejection of these images on an internal level without identification results in social stigmas that are presented externally. And being that we become tuned internally for rejection, this is what we in turn attract on a vibratory level in our external field. The traumas are more so stored within a specific body of ours that we are just unaware of. And this can become trapped and lost while still consistently transmitting that beacon of rejection for a desired state of equilibrium to be established. When this balance is not addressed, it becomes the fuel behind our actions and identifications that we end up projecting on our persona of being. This state of being portrays the skewed image of who we are, out of the rejected or refracted light that we see externally of what, who, and how we should be with a gender, when all it simply is establishing is a rhythmic circulation within that specific body where the trauma is transmitting from. This starts to translate into feminine masculine roles in a fluid energetic regulation and the application. Let's look at how that translates to feminine and masculine roles in a fluid energetic regulation and the application of that. The dynamics of majority of traumas are based within an aspect of our feminine and masculine energies that we embody with our parents being the staples, as well as our ancestors. These past experiences are just the versions of the physical bodies that have experienced and stored these traumas, which have echoed into the hollow vessel you now embody. It only takes but for you to listen to each of them and welcome them into a balanced state of being. Listening to the state of these specific echoes and understanding the masculine and feminine tones within all allow for an indication of specific echoes to allow them the space in which they need for homeostasis to clear out the noise within the vessel. Sometimes it takes us just listening to what this masculine and feminine energy is really saying to come to a balanced state of identification within our own bodies. Now, how does this lead to skipping steps in evolution due to hypermasculine tendency? In such a hypermasculine world, there's a major imbalance of these tendencies that comes with traumas, whether it be over-sexualization, greed, power, and many other things. There's a need for a feminine channel of love to be opened and ushered in, to usher out the drowning noise that is slowly sinking the vessel of humanity. The origin of this hypermasculine world has been propelled over time by the use of the gift of the masculine foresight far too much. In doing so, yes, we have made many advances in evolution, but there has also been many steps skipped along the way. Those that have led have been so driven by the use of these tendencies rather than the utilization, that those that have been following have not had time to identify or even become aware of the missteps that have led to many allowing for these vessels to become lost to sea. As we think about the existential fading out of existence, we seem as though we are passengers on a ship, sailing through what we see. When asked, "Where are you going?" responses like, "I don't know, I have no idea, and I haven't thought much into it," are all too common. The thought of being the driver of your vessel and in control of its direction and destination are not foreseen, fathomed, or even considered. But why is that? Are we unclear of the responsibility of control it takes for direction into this perceived world through the mist? Or is the content and ignorance and desire more fulfilling for us that it has been drip-fed to us through generations as if on an emotional IV of our own euphoric free will? There's control in letting go. How far, when, and what to let go of is the utilization of navigation through our discernment towards our highest self, being in flow. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening to MissUnderstanding. I hope all of that was clear. What really was happening here was just pointing out some key topics, not going completely in depth. I do go into this a little bit deeper with my keys method. And this keys method is really about bringing in light to our internal self so that we can find mapping into the deeper set traumas of our understanding and uprooting them into a deeper understanding. If you would like some more information on that and figure out how we can unlock internal spaces through guided meditation and really tuning into these deeper set traumas and how we can connect that Amma to them, then schedule a call with me by clicking the link in the show notes. If you like this episode and would like to explore more perspectives like this with me, As we get a bit more intimate and intricate look into our internal vibrations, be sure to tune in to next week's episode and subscribe for more. Until then, keep frequently speaking what you frequently see.